Who's your heart beating for? Who's your heart beating for in this life? Bending over backwards, she still knows.
So let me ask you this, because I think what you were just mentioning in terms of the professional kitchen being a very high pressure situation. There's tons of different high pressure situations that exist, but I think the kitchen is a great example of one. So when you're in that high pressure situation and before your recovery, you're having all these life experiences, and outside of the kitchen, your life is kind of a mess and
chaos, yeah.
Absolute chaos. But at the same time, you're working side by side with these other chefs, these other waiters, these other, back of the house managers, and they know you as you're that guy. Yeah, you can cook your butt off, but you're also that guy. So
Right.
then as you start making that transition, as you start making your recovery, as they start seeing those changes in you, how did they respond? Because that kind of change, that kind of transition has a way of just creating upheaval in a lot of people's lives. And I'm intrigued to see how you continued in that same career from chaos to recovery to transition, and you're working with probably a lot of the same people throughout.
Early in my recovery, I ended up working with, I got a new job.
Mhm.
And I got this job through people in recovery, right? I began working in a high-end catering company. And it was my first exposure to real high-end, to real high-end situations. And the people who hired me knew what my past looked like. They were very familiar. And they were like, no problem. And they gave me a really dumb job, that I could do really well. And they put a couple of super patient guys right next to me, and I would sit there and chop vegetables and just like spout my insanity all day long. Like, cause I was still crazy. I was still out of my mind. Like the problem, the problem with my mind that created the problem with drugs, like, still existed and was still like engulfed in flame.
Mhm.
And once again, I received just like love and patience and kindness. These guys knew where I was. They knew where my mind was. They knew where my heart was, and they gave me a job that I could just, and it was mindless. It wasn't real high end work, but I was cooking. I was doing what I loved. I was doing what I was capable of doing, and they just like listened to me like be insane for for the next year. And and uh and I transitioned out of that kitchen into, and literally the next kitchen I went into was Spago Beverly Hills,
Wow.
and I got a job, in the Wolfgang Puck flagship. I climbed the ladder through there, and they never knew like Dave the Drunk. I told them the stories, but
Mhm.
they never knew that guy. They never knew that creator of chaos, and they couldn't picture it. What
That
they
was going to be my next question. Could they even picture you as that, given that you were in a very different place in your life by that point?
Yeah, and it was wild. I would go to, because I'm pretty open about my past, because I believe that my past can serve.
Mhm.
I'm embarrassed by it. I'm not ashamed by it. I believe that when I am open about that, then the guy, you know down the line from me, who's really struggling,
Mhm.
and I go, yeah, no, I've been sober this amount of time, um, and my life is thriving. He goes, really? How'd you manage that? And I go, I'm
Mhm.
so glad you asked. Let let's go grab a cup of coffee or something, and really, to live my life as an expression of the gratitude that I have for the people who reached out to me in those very, very early days and were kind to me, is sort of the deal, is to live my life as an expression of gratitude, as an expression of exuberance, because I know what it looks like to live behind a dumpster. I know what that looks like,
Mhm.
and any day, and anything that's not that, is a reason to celebrate and is a reason to push forward. And it's one of the reasons why I said at the beginning, I don't believe in limitations. I don't believe in yours. I don't believe in mine. You know, I'll listen to your excuses all day long, and then I'm going to start challenging them.
Fair enough.
She's still no